Greetings and welcome, Sharps, newbies, and squares. And Harley's wearing the same Raptor jersey as last week, I just noticed. It is another edition of Play On with Jorey and Harley. I'm Jorey Middlestat. He is the professional, Harley Redlick. And as always, we're powered by PointsBet, the official sports book of Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, NBC, and so much more. It's an NFL Week 8 as we get close to the quasi midway point of the season. It's an odd number of games now, so there's no real true midway point, and there's buys.
But there's an even number of weeks, right? Because there's 18 weeks, 17 games. So after week 9 is the halfway point.
But some teams have had buys and some haven't.
So we got to adjust.
We have to adjust accordingly. As I said, it's an NFL Week 8 and more edition as the World Series gets going tomorrow. So we'll certainly touch upon that. And we're with you each and every Thursday. We kick off right around 5:10 p.m. Eastern. We were about a minute late today. And we're live from the Bottom Line on Front Street in downtown Toronto, which is literally right beside the Hockey Hall of Fame. And as I say each and every week, one of Harley's, if not Harley's, go-to spot for wings. Come down anytime. Say hi, enjoy the wings, drinks, the atmosphere. It's really popping on game nights here. Leafs, Raptors. For those in TO or visiting, we always encourage you to come on down. So what's happening on today's show? We'll go through week 8. Not every game, just the ones that caught our eye and ones that either Harley or I have a pick on. It's generally more Harley than myself. We'll hopefully have props, same game parlays. Harley is always, he's not a real parlay guy, but likes to put out a same game parlay for the Thursday nighter because we're doing this on a Thursday. As I said, we'll talk about the World Series. Are you going to have a pick on the World Series or on game 1?
We'll discuss it.
Not an official pick?
No, but I do have one on the NHL tonight.
Ooh. As I recall, you're 0-1 on hockey this year, so you'll be looking to redeem yourself. We'll get to the picks recap in a moment because you're looking for a bounce back.
I had a big dog that lost in overtime, which to me is at least a moral victory.
Dallas. That was Dallas in the Leafs.
In hockey, chaos of play in overtime. If you can get the dog, you're with the plus money, you're in good shape.
You'd like to win more, but from a handicapping perspective, I get it.
You did good.
Corey Travers, head trader of PointsBet Canada, will be along for his weekly visit. And in fact, he's going to join us in just a couple minutes. Teddy Greenstein, senior editor and player development manager for PointsBet USA, and the head dude at the Hustle newsletter, will be back this week. He was not with us a week ago, and he was 2-0 the previous week. So he'll be looking to back that up again this time around. We may or may not have a gambling story of the week. I don't think we do this week because we have a lot to cover. How do you reach us or get in touch with us or tell us we're ugly or we suck or we're great? All of that. You can do so. Hit us up on Twitter. I'm at Jorey Middle, Jorey for the first portion of my handle. And Harley is at Sharp Edge Picks. You can also email us, playon@pointsbet.ca. Now that I've done all the pleasantries and the required content to get us going, Harley, the floor is yours to recap last week's picks and tell us where you stand and where I stand, which is below. I'm underwater.
You're way worse than me. It was a bad NFL week for me. I entered the week up 0.23 units. I lost 0.15 units on my same game parlay as Kyler Murray didn't do much, even though the Cards scored 28-0 and 42 total.
2 pick sixes helped.
I also lost a half a unit, as we discussed, on the Dallas Stars. They lost in OT to the Leafs. To me, that's pretty. The Dogs on the under on the Friday's Phillies-Padres game finished 4-2. The total was 7.5. My baseball betting has been good.
Yeah.
I then lost 2.14 units on the NFL. Both my dogs lost.
Yeah, you had the wrong dogs.
The Texans and the Lions both had leads in the second half and then absolutely imploded.
Yeah.
I lost 1.79 units for the week. So now I'm down 1.53 units total. Again, not upset with the bets. The process seemed good. Dallas Stars were live. The Dogs were live. That's just the roller coaster of sports betting. There's ups and downs. But when you're sharper, the rides tend to end well.
I lost my prop Thursday night because I overthought it. Remember, I said to you,
Yeah.
I was thinking DeAndre Hopkins
Yeah.
coming back
And then
after
you
the
went with
suspension,
Ertz.
and I went with Ertz. Ertz did virtually nothing, and Hopkins went off. He didn't score a touchdown, but he hit both receptions and over receiving yards. Sometimes you can't overthink it. Sometimes the obvious is the way to go. A hard lesson learned. I'm down, 4 point something?
4.07 units.
Shit. I don't know if I'm taking a break. What are you laughing at over there? Seb is like giving me heartache here. The social media manager of PointsBet Canada.
Who's always eating delicious bottom line pasta. How is pasta, Seb? 2 thumbs up. So good. What kind of pasta is that? Seafood linguine. Come down bottom line.
More than just the wings.
If you're sufficient linguine and a glass Chardonnay, and if you're working class like me, it's wings and a draft beer.
Not yet decided if I'm making any picks tonight. I was going to bet the board, but I know you would bet the NFL board, but I knew you'd take me to task. I'm just kidding. I wasn't going to do that.
I wasn't going to bet the board on a Thursday night because there's only one game on the board.
Well, there's more on the board than just the NFL.
Of course.
But I hear you. And in fact, you foreshadowed that you're going to have a hot.
Yes, I will.
All right. Without further ado, a little out of sequence this week, but we had to deal with scheduling for Teddy, the head bottle washer.
He's a honcho.
So Corey Travers, who, by the way, kudos on your day off.
Oh, come on.
Coming in to join us minutes.
I mean, this is just fun. Like,
Exactly.
doesn't need to be a work
Look
thing.
at the sweatshirt. The trophy lives in the North. Raptors representing the 6. I love it.
It really should say lived at this point. It's kind of dating the sweater, but,
almost
whatever.
more than 3 years, actually. Yeah. Who's counting? All right. We always start with name a bet. Harley gave you a sport special again.
Yep.
Working the World Series into it. So it was, what's more, Bills touchdowns on Sunday night.
That's versus the Packers. Yeah, correct.
Right? Versus runs scored in game, or Astros runs in game 1.
Yeah.
And the line was pretty even.
It was very close. So the Astros, I believe it's a pick at them to get over under 3.5 runs in game. Bills touchdowns, very close, slightly juiced under on their 3.5 touchdowns, but like very juiced. So we do have a slight favorite on the Astros to score runs. But like either way, it's almost a pick. It's very close.
So what is it? Minus
120 on the Astros to score more, and minus 110 on the Bills to have more touchdowns.
What did you set the line at when you did it?
When I said it, I put them both at around 3.5. So I figured let him sweat it out, but give him a little bit of a break.
So you think his line is accurate?
His line's about right. I think both of them are in that range. Obviously, runs scored in a baseball game has a lot higher of a distribution than, like, the Bills are for sure scoring pretty much between 2 and 5 touchdowns. The Astros could put up 0 or could put up 9. And
so especially in game 1 when your aces are going, right? I mean, I know it's only on the Astros, but you're facing the best pitcher on the other team.
Sure.
Yeah, you got Nola, so he's, going to be good.
So that brings us to the World Series itself.
Yep.
Houston's a sizable favorite, minus 190. You can take plus 160 on the Phillies for the series. Now, I thought Houston would be at least 2-1. How did you price it out yourself?
Well, I'm not pricing like a full series market or even like a game market. Like those are pretty much just like industry standards.
Yes.
Like we'll price like derivative lines. We'll price some prop bets.
But do you think that's an accurate line?
I would say it's a pretty accurate line. I think the thing that the Phillies have, and the Phillies, I mean, there's just a bit of trivia. We're actually sub 500 coming into the playoffs versus teams not named the Washington Nationals. So like not a very good team for a lot of the regular season. Like
against better teams.
Would have missed the playoffs in previous iterations of the playoffs. But the thing that the Phillies do have is they have a good top end of the starting rotation. And in short series
with Wheeler
baseball,
and Nola.
exactly.
Nola going in game 1, Wheeler in game 2.
Exactly. In short series, such as, playoff baseball in general, because it's a 162-game season, and then you have 3, 5, and 7-game series in the playoffs, which is kind of ridiculous if you compare it to other sports, right? But yeah, that does help a team win in those short runs. So I think the Phillies are appropriately priced. A lot of their hitters are very hot right now,
Yes.
so that's worth taking into consideration. Like the Astros are probably the best team in baseball. I'd say the Dodgers were still the best team in baseball despite their loss in the playoffs. But yeah, no, I'd say that's about a fair line.
And are you seeing a lot of World Series action?
We do see a decent amount. I mean, I guess we've seen a decent amount of like championship series action. Typically, we'd see about as much handle on each game as we would on like a small slate of like hockey games, like a 3 or 4 game slate, like in terms of nightly action. So that's still something. It's not. We still would see more on like a standalone NFL game than we will on the standalone World Series game.
So the price for game 1 is the Astros minus 175, Phillies plus 145, and the total 6.5. We were just talking before the show about the fact that Justin Verlander's had a lot of playoff experience in his career, including the World Series, and has yet to win a World Series game. I will also point out, and I'm just saying, that off a great deal of rest, right, going into the division series, right, because the Astros had a bye, Verlander got lit up, right, in the first game of the division series. They ended up winning that game against the Mariners.
Against
the Alvarez,
Robbie Ray,
right, the Alvarez
Robbie
walk-off.
Ray did not have a very good playoff.
No, but Verlander gave up like 6 runs. I'm saying all this because, do you have any thoughts on game 1? Like, is there value in the Phillies?
I think the sports books like the Phillies. And the reason I'm saying that is the Astros at minus 190, less than a 2-1 favorite, having kind of swept the Yankees and looking dominating.
They're 7-0 in the playoffs.
Is one thing. On top of that, the sports books have like $75 million of exposure to the Astros winning the World Series with Mattress Mac.
Right.
So when you add that up, you think they'd really want to encourage Phillies action, but instead they're tempting bettors with the Astros. So it sounds like the books are confident or willing to take a shot with the Phillies for the reasons that Corey just said. When your top 2 are pretty solid, like the Phillies are, the fact that the bottom half of the rotation sucks doesn't matter as much in the playoffs. Harper and Hoskins and Schwarber and stuff are
Real
hot.
Muto. They've been the top 4 or 5 guys in that lineup have been red hot.
And you live
for the
and
most
die
part.
by
Harper
that top half of the lineup. And I mean, I think the Astros are the better team. I think the Astros should win the World Series, but a couple bounces and the Phillies could do it.
So I was looking at what what PointsBet offers in terms of baseball, looking at the World Series.
Yep.
And there's certainly a big menu. And so it got me to thinking, because I don't really think about it a whole lot as a bettor with baseball. Do you see prop action on baseball?
Well, I mean, baseball's not as big of a prop sport, at least.
It doesn't lend itself.
I wouldn't say so. I think pitcher props are quite popular. That's something that obviously, like, you just see a pitcher go 1 every 5 days. So, like, when you do have a guy you like and you say, like, hey, I'm going to bet on, for example, Nola's strikeouts every time he pitches, if you think he's consistently being underpriced by the book. Other than that, we'll see, like, home run props, stolen base props get a decent amount. We did pretty drastically improve our offering in terms of what we have on site for baseball about midway through the season, maybe 2/3 of the way through the season. So when we did make that improvement, we started offering a lot more props. We did start to see an uptick.
All right, so we have to talk about the Thursday nighter, as we always do, and it's a pretty good matchup if you look at the star power quarterback, supposedly playoff teams coming into the season. The Bucks are in a world of hurt right now. The Ravens are 4-3. They could probably be 7-0, and they could just as easily be like 2-5. Right? They've blown all those leads.
They take big leads, and then they seem to blow them.
And they're 4-3 coming in.
Yep.
Now, there's been a lot of Tampa the spread has moved in Tampa's favor a lot today, like at least a point. They're up to a 2-point favorite. Last I looked, the total was 45 or 45.5. You'll double check that for me. So I saw, in fact, in the hustle today, that PointsBet saying they're getting tons of Raven money, yet the lines moved in Tampa's favor. What is happening?
Yeah, we are getting we're getting more Raven money than we are getting. We're also Bucks money. We're also seeing it's more volume of bets on the Ravens, more so than money on the Ravens, meaning the average bet size on the Bucks is larger than the average bet size on the Ravens.
Is there a difference between sharp and public on this game?
Typically sharps are going to bet good amounts of money because that's what they do, and they're getting limited, but they their attempt is always bet as much as they can if they think they truly have an advantage. So that is a factor when you see weight of money versus total number of bets. So yes, we will see a little bit more sharp action earlier today on the Bucks than we had seen on the Ravens. But still, basically by the time I tell you that, like, we've kind of put the line where we think it should be based on the betting habits of our clients.
Did you want to add anything about Thursday night?
46.5 is the
now
total.
It's up to 46.5 from 45.5. Any props getting hit hard for tonight? You always see a lot of Brady prop action when he's in a primetime game.
Amount of Brady prop action. I mean, the same could be said about Lamar Jackson. I mean, because you see rushing prop action and passing prop action on him. So I'd say Lamar Jackson and Tom Brady are two of the stars of the league. I mean, you wouldn't have to be a gambling expert to say that. And basically, people who are stars in the public eye will also see a lot of retail prop action as well. So yeah, they're two really good quarterbacks, faces of each team tonight, receiving a ton of action. So it's always nice when we get games like that.
All right, so before we let you go, and I don't know if you saw this, so if you don't have a definitive answer, I will let it slide. But I just saw on my phone about 20 minutes ago that Jamar Chase, Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, great wide receiver for the Cincinnati Bengals, is now out for 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So immediately I looked at the line, and the line moved, right? Because they are the Monday Nighter, as I recall.
The Monday Nighter, yeah.
Bengals at Browns.
Yeah.
And I saw the line went from Cincinnati 3.5 down to 3, and the total dropped a full point. Is that purely a reaction to the Jamar Chase news?
That'll be, I mean, Jamar Chase
because normally, right, quarterbacks will move the line more than anybody else.
Quarterbacks will move the line. Receivers, in terms of like positions that are able to move the line, no one's going to move the line more than a point except for a quarterback, basically. But like Jamar Chase makes Joe Burrow a better quarterback. So Joe Burrow without Jamar Chase is still a very good quarterback. I mean, he went off last week.
That first half was
unbelievable.
Yeah.
But he's not quite Joe Burrow with his full arsenal of options. So, yeah, like half a point is pretty reasonable for a stud receiver like Jamar Chase.
Anything else we need to know about Sunday's NFL action or anything else that's standing out right now?
I'd say, like, in terms of notable ones, we have seen a decent amount of money on both the over and the Cardinals point spread on the Cards-Vikings game coming up this Sunday.
All right. As always, on the day off, we appreciate you coming in. And as I like to say, we appreciate the time and the knowledge.
Anytime, guys. Had fun.
Thank you, sir. Corey Travers, the head trader.
Head honcho. At
PointsBet Canada.
With their new offices. We just checked them out.
Yeah. Quick aside.
Cool digs.
If you happen to be around downtown Toronto and you have to go like 4 blocks, don't drive. Like, we just had a nightmare getting from the new PointsBet Canada offices, which are really cool, and to literally 4 blocks away. And it took like 35 minutes. So I know I'm getting way off topic, but I just wanted to point that out. All right, let's get to the Week 8 slate. But before we do, Harley, your favorite part of the show, the numbers through 7 weeks.
Hit me up.
Home teams, 9-5 straight up last week. Now, so they've upticked a little bit to a little over 53% on the season. Guess what happens with the dogs versus the favorites? After the faves had a little bit of a winning week, back to the dogs. Nothing huge, 8-6, but 60, 44-3, 57.7% on the season are the dogs against the spread. Home dogs split last week, so not much of a change from a percentage standpoint, 55.8. The funny thing is, the 2 home dogs that won were the big upsets, right?
Yeah.
Carolina over Tampa
and the Bears.
And Washington over Green Bay.
And the Bears. What about the Bears?
And the Bears too. Wait. Maybe the numbers were off. Were the Bears at home?
No, in New England. Sorry. Yes,
That's
you're
right. Bears
You're
were
right.
at New England. No,
You're
I was right.
Yeah, you're right.
The two winners were those two big dogs.
Right.
Wouldn't you like to have had them on the money line?
Yeah, that would have been fun.
There's some juicy money line dogs if you got the guts.
Mhm.
And the totals, unders again, just like the dogs, 8 and 6, a little over 60% on the season. So dogs are a little under 60%, but that's still a big number. And the the unders are still over 60% on the season. Is it correction time? Not sure, but let's look at the early slate first. And normally this game would not have caught my eye, but because it's a 9:30 a.m. kickoff in London, I'm going to highlight it. It's 2-5 teams. Denver Broncos at Jacksonville. Jacksonville's technically the home team. They play every year in London.
Mm-hmm.
You think they like them in London? They go every year.
Yeah, I would assume the Jaguars.
Like, are there Jag fans in London?
I would assume within a few years the Jaguars are just going to be playing there permanently. That's got to be the plan. That's what the owner wants.
Russell Wilson says he is playing on Sunday. It hasn't been officially announced, but he has declared after doing calisthenics and high knee bends or whatever the heck he was doing on the plane to London. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. In any case, both teams have lost 4 straight. Jacksonville's a 2.5-point favorite. The total is 39.5. Do you have a thought on this one?
Yeah, I do.
Whoa.
Even though both teams are 2-5, the Jags numbers are so much better than Denver's. They're just a better team. They're scoring 50% more points than Denver.
Yeah, well, Denver's like at the bottom of the league.
But they're giving up about the same as Denver's awesome defense. Don't be fooled by the records. Jacksonville, by the numbers, is an average NFL team with mediocre luck, and the Broncos are just bad. 2.5 points is not that much to lay. It's less than a field goal. I'm risking 1.07 units to win a unit on the Jags in London, Sunday morning at 9:30, minus 2.5.
I'm not going back to the Jags yet.
Okay.
They need to show me something.
Yeah, they'll show you something.
The one thing I will say about the Broncos, and their offense has been dreadful. Russell Wilson didn't play last week, didn't get any better with Rippon at quarterback.
No.
But their defense is for real.
Yeah.
And they're on the field the whole game. They're on the field so much.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes its toll. I would lean Jacksonville, but I'm not making an official play. Now, the other game that stood out for me on the early games, and not because of marquee value in terms of records, although you might look at one team that way, but it was the spread. And I'm talking about the 3-4 New England Patriots at the New York Jets. Jets. You'll catch on.
Yeah. No, I remember
Who are
that.
5-2.
Jets. Jets. Yeah.
Who are 5-2. The Patriots are the favorite in this game, minus 2.5, and the total's 40.5.
Right.
What do you read from that spread?
That the Patriots are rated higher than the Jets, and rightfully so. I mean, the New York teams, even the New York fans, don't really believe in these New York football teams. It's going to take another 5-6 weeks of them winning relatively consistently. Bookmakers aren't so quick to adjust to the fact that the Giants and Jets have won a couple of more games than maybe they should have. They're definitely greatly improved, but they're still mediocre teams at best, and the line makers are pricing it accordingly.
And I should point out, it appears as though Mac Jones will get the start again at quarterback for the Pats, right? He got pulled after 3 series Monday night. But it looks like he took 90% of the first team snaps and should be the starter. I will say this quickly about the Jets. They got a lot of talent, a lot of good young talent in the right positions. They are a team on the rise. I don't know about their quarterback yet. Zach Wilson, to me, is a complete unknown at this point. Do you have any other picks from the early games?
No.
All right. So let's go to the late kickoffs. I'm talking 4:05 and 4:25 Eastern and the primetime games. I will always highlight the primetime games, but I couldn't let another New York team slide by, Harley. So One of the 425 games is the 6-1 New York Football Giants at Seattle to take on the NFC West division leading Seattle Seahawks, who are at 4-3. The Seahawks are a 3-point favorite. The total is 44. I will point out as well, no DK Metcalf for the Seahawks. He's going to be out at least 4 weeks, it looks like. And these are both teams, certainly, if you look back at the preseason projections for both.
And it's the only game on the schedule this week where both teams are above 500.
Yeah.
Let that sink in. Not Packers, Bills, Rams, Niners, Ravens, Bucks, Giants, Seahawks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are the odds on that going into the
Yeah,
season?
they'd be the
right?
only one. Yeah.
Now, so just like we were talking about with the Jets, the bookies aren't buying the Giants, yet they're 6-1.
Mhm. I have a play.
There you go.
It's on the total. Yeah, this is a pace game. I don't know if you know, but the Seahawks are averaging close to 50 points per game. The Giants are averaging 40 points per game. I'm talking total points in the game they're playing. So it's not surprising the total's 44 and a half in between
Yeah.
to set a total. I like the under. I like the slower paced Giants to dictate the game. I'm risking 1.07 units to win a unit. I'm not saying the Giants are going to win. I'm not saying the Giants are good. I'm saying the Giants and Saquon Barkley are going to try to run the ball more and consume more clock, and 44 and a half is a lot of points.
And I will jump in and say, Pete Carroll always wants to run the ball,
Ideally.
right? Run the ball, play action, no DK Metcalf, right? As I mentioned earlier. And they seem to have found something in their rookie running back, right? Kenneth Walker out of Michigan State. He's been dynamite so far. He's putting up big numbers the last few weeks since he's become the starter. I think, right? Penny got hurt for a change. And Walker's been really good. He's averaging like over 6 yards a tote, as some pundits like to say.
Yeah, I don't buy the offenses on these teams. I don't, especially the passing games. And
Yeah, well, the Giants don't pass for a
even
lot
having
of yards.
success running the ball is pretty good for the under when the total's 44 and a half.
You love a good running game when you're on the under. You want them to run first and second down every time. The primetime games are as follows, aside from the Thursday nighter, which we'll get to later. It's the 3-4 Green Bay Packers at Buffalo to take on the 5-1 Bills. That's your Sunday nighter. The Bills are a huge favorite, minus 11, and the total.
First time in Rodgers' career,
He's been a double-digit dog, and the total is 48. The Pack have lost 3 straight to the aforementioned Giants, Jets, and then last week Washington.
That's losing to those 3 teams and now going into Buffalo to face Josh Allen and a riled up Orchard Park crowd who will be beyond blitzed and hammered by game time.
Off a bye and that big win over KC. Letdown spot? I don't
Rodgers
think so.
at home on prime time.
How about this for the Packers before I ask you if you have a play on this one? So Matt LaFleur's been the head coach now for 3 years. This is year 4. He's won 13 games all 3 years. In order to do that this year,
Let's go around the table.
you got it. I don't like their chances.
Either do I. I mean, the truth is, my son could have coached the Packers for the last 3 years. Aaron Rodgers is super talented in a division with, where are the other quarterbacks? The Lions have had a revolving door. The
Bears.
The Bears, I mean, my son could actually quarterback the Bears.
And Minnesota has coin flip Kirk.
And makes
Right?
mistakes.
Coin flip Kirk.
Yeah.
1 week he's great. Next week you never
which
know.
is a recipe
Or within
for
the same
500.
game.
Exactly. So, I mean, you add it up, and I don't think
Do you have a
it's
play on this game?
I don't have a play. I mean, the Bills should beat them soundly. I mean, Rodgers is gritty, and I wouldn't count him out quite yet, although still think it's about time to put him up.
Again, I don't think Rodgers is the problem there. Just like I don't think Tom Brady's the problem with the Bucks. It's the surrounding cast right now that are the problems. And the numbers Rodgers' numbers are worse than Brady's. Brady's numbers are actually pretty good.
Rodgers and Brady have played with a lot of different surrounding casts in their. I mean, they've been starting quarterbacks in the NFL probably combined for like 30 years.
More.
Combined?
You're talking over
combined
35.
35 years, and they've never struggled. So they've had weak supporting cast before. When you're a little bit slower and older, weak supporting cast become glaring.
I'm not writing off either guy just yet, which brings us to the Monday nighter. It's the 4-3 Cincinnati Bengals at Cleveland to take on the 2-5 Browns. This is an AFC North battle. We just talked about with Corey and how it might have impacted the line that I didn't know that Jamar Chase was actually that injured.
Well,
he was a little banged up last week. He left and came back, but now he's out 4-6, and the line moved. The Bengals are now a 3-point favorite. The total dropped a point from 46.5 to 45.5. The Bengals just lit up the Falcons last week. Like in the first half it was like schoolyard ball, right? Burrow threw for almost 350. 3 touchdowns. It was nuts. The Browns lost a tight one that they almost pulled off at Baltimore, and they play every game with the Browns is close, kind of like the Ravens. You have a pick for Monday night?
I don't. I mean, the Bengals seem to be coming into form. They've won 4 of their last 5. The only game they lost was on a last-second field goal in Baltimore. So actually, they covered in their lone loss. They haven't. They haven't looked bad since the beginning of the year, right? They lost the
first game to Pittsburgh because their long snapper got hurt.
Right.
That's almost surely a win if they have a regular long snapper.
Right. And then they lost by a field goal in Dallas when Dak was gone, and they rallied around Rush and stuff like that. And
so those were the 3 games I highlighted. Do you have anything else from the late slate?
No, just my boring under 44.5 in Seahawks Lions.
It's only boring if you lose.
No, winning boring is nice.
Winning anyway is nice. Are we? We're good with Teddy. So let's put in the earphones. Sorry, we got to so we can hear.
Sounds good.
Our good friend, compadre, almost Canadian, and that's Teddy Greenstein, the senior editor and player development manager at PointsBet USA, and I'll say it once today, the chief bottle washer at the Hustle newsletter. So, Teddy, you were 2-0 2 weeks ago, and then you ghost us last week.
Yeah.
You're supposed to ghost when you go 0-2.
He always runs so hot. He never has a chance to ghost.
Yeah, I just believe in myself so thoroughly. No, last week was good, man. I ended up in Denver, PointsBet headquarters that as well. Took a client, and we went to the Abs on Friday. Disappointing result by the Abs. We went to the Nuggets on Saturday, and then my JETS happened to be in Denver playing the Broncos. So we had kind of the ultimate guy weekend.
Wow, yeah.
What was that, 16-9 for the JETS?
Yeah.
Yeah, they held on. It was a little scary there at the end, but they did just enough. The moment where Zach Wilson puts the football literally on the turf, and it looks like it's 50-50 whether or not it's coming out first, I was going to go down and strangle him because, your job is just not to screw up badly, right? I mean, they have a great defense. They had Breece Hall at that point, but fortunately that was viewed as the ground causing the fumble, and that defense was just superb.
Yeah, they've got a lot of talent on that defense. We were just talking before you came on. I think the Jets are certainly headed in the right direction. Not sure quite yet, though, about your quarterback. But we'll leave that. We'll leave that for another time. I'm not sold yet on Zach Wilson.
Neither
I can tell you that. Okay. Are you excited for the World Series?
I'm a little excited for the World Series. I threw down on the Phillies just to really have a team to root for. My last future was on the Yankees, went up in flames. I'm still a little stubborn about not liking Houston because of the garbage cans, and I like an underdog, and I'm an East Coaster. So why not pick the Phillies and hope for the best?
So you threw down a little on the Phillies. Sorry,
exactly.
You threw down a little on the Phillies for the series.
Yeah, I got them. We're at plus 160.
Yeah.
Some other places are as high as plus 170. I do have some smart baseball people who I text with, and they thought it was a decent bet. Phillies are rolling, obviously. I mean, so Houston's, I think, a better team top to bottom, but hey, all they need is about a 35% chance to justify that bet. So I'll do it.
It's baseball. I mean, the NFL's a coin flip, but the baseball playoffs have become that way too. It's like the regular season is almost irrelevant. You just have to get into the dance, and you got a shot in these short series. It's incredible, and the playoffs so far have been pretty good overall, and especially if you're an underdog bettor, that's for sure. So we got a pretty good Thursday nighter, at least from a marquee quarterback standpoint.
Yeah.
A general question first. We've been sort of debating this on and off the air, Harley and I, about Brady and Rodgers. We'll just talk about Brady for the moment.
Yeah.
Are you ready to write him off? Because I'm not.
I heard you guys talking about, you said Brady's numbers are a little better than Rodgers. Got except for touchdown passes, 8 and 7 games, although it's not his fault that Mike Evans dropped that bunny last week. I make a lot of bad bets, but I did make a good one going into this season. I had the under on Tampa's win total, and I took Tampa to miss the playoffs.
Wow.
It looks like a genius bet, except for the fact that the AFC South is a joke, and they're still probably going to make the playoffs. I don't know, if you go 8 and 9, you're going to make the playoffs? So that one is still needs a lot of help. But I just thought, like, bad offensive line, old quarterback who's 1 foot in, 1 foot out was a recipe for a struggling season. Tonight, I can't back either side. I'm not betting, the spread here because, I mean, if I had to, I would do the Ravens. But to me, it's trappy.
We lost.
To me, it's
Sorry, Teddy. We lost you for a sec. Just repeat what you just said for the last 10 seconds.
I'm holding off on either side of the spread. I mean, if I was forced to, I'd take the Ravens, but it feels kind of trappy to me, kind of like the Bears-Patriots did the other night. Everyone's betting on the Patriots. Everyone's betting on the over. And here it seems like everyone's betting on the Ravens, but it's a short week. The Bucs are home. They're a wounded animal. They're very talented. So I can't – and the Ravens don't have much of a passing game. And Brady's going to throw it 45 times. So I just can't really take either side here. Spread-wise.
But I did see you had a prop in the Hustle newsletter. Tell us why.
Yeah, thanks.
Who and why?
Yeah, I'm going Mike Evans, anytime touchdown, plus 125.
Making up for that drop bunny, right?
Exactly. I think Tom Brady will put him in a really good spot to make some plays. He's a great deep threat. The Ravens don't defend long throws well. They've given up, I believe, the second most 20-plus receptions in the NFL. So Mike Evans is my play here.
I saw you also had a college football play for this week. Yes, I read the newsletter.
Appreciate you. Yeah, went with going with Kentucky, plus 12 against Tennessee. Kentucky's a plucky team. Usually able to keep the score kind of low. Tennessee probably still coming off the Alabama high, and next week has Georgia. So I think it's going to be tough
the old
for
trap
Tennessee.
game. Is that what you call the trap game?
Yeah, the look-ahead game. It's a look-ahead game, I think.
Or look ahead, yeah.
Yeah, we can use all those cliches if they work. If they don't work, then it's just bad handicapping. But Kentucky's an interesting one. Jay Croucher on Penn State plus 15.5. I mean, it's scary to bet against the Buckeyes because it's like, even if they're losing in a quarter, they can just score 21 points like that. But in the history of that series, Penn State keeps it close.
In the car, and I was in the car in the afternoon on Saturday, early Saturday afternoon, and I had I forget if it was College Game Day or whatever it was on whatever I was listening to, and they had the strip sack fumble, right? Ohio State, Iowa, and so Ohio State's down early, and whoever was saying, "Ooh, could they be in trouble today?" And then 20 minutes later, it was like 28-7. So your point is well taken. Teddy, thanks a lot for the time. We appreciate it. The picks, we wish you good luck, and we'll either talk to you next week or the following, but we're going to try and get you weekly if you'll do it.
I would love to, guys. Enjoy the game tonight. Talk to you soon.
Thanks a lot.
Teddy.
Take care.
Teddy Greenstein, Senior Editor, Player Development Manager for PointsBet USA, and the head honcho at the Hustle newsletter, which, if you're listening to us anywhere in the US of A and you have a PointsBet account, you're getting the newsletter. Check it out. Some good stuff. The guys, Croucher, who we talked about, who's like their
Jay Croucher,
he's been really good in the newsletter. And Ryan Leaf, the former QB and host of podcasts presented by PointsBet in the US, has also been really good. So there's been some pretty good handicapping going on in the Hustle newsletter, and Teddy as well has been holding his own. All right, let's get to the Thursday nighter, Harley.
Yeah.
Because I know you're going to have a same game parlay for me because I force you to. It's the 4-3 Baltimore Ravens at Tampa to take on the 3-4 Bucks. And this spread has been on the move. You heard Teddy say, we talked about it with Corey, that there's been a lot of Ravens action, but more money on the Bucks. And so the Bucks, this was, I think, is open pick'em, or even Baltimore was a slight favorite.
Baltimore was the favorite.
Tampa's now a 2-point favorite. The total is 46.5. Quick preview here, Harley. The Ravens almost coughed up another fourth quarter lead at home, but they hung on to beat Cleveland. The Bucks put up 3 points, 3, and lost to PJ Walker and the Carolina Panthers, who appeared to be like completely done and looked like they might not win another game this year. So I'm not sure what to make of that. And I want to give you some numbers. Now, remember we talked, I think we've talked to you the first or second show about trends.
Yeah.
Some are just complete bunk, right? And some have some value and are worthy of factoring into your handicapping.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give you some Tom Brady stats going into this one.
Hit me.
You tell me what to make
matters.
of them.
Go.
Okay? When was the last time Tom Brady lost 3 straight games?
2002.
Shit, how did you know that?
I saw that stat recently. Yeah, he hasn't lost 3 in a row very often. He's had some pretty good teams around him, and he's pretty good.
Okay. What do you think his record is on 3 days rest? Straight up.
14-7.
9-1.
Okay, that's good.
That's the best of all time for a quarterback, tied with Peyton Manning.
Okay.
These stats I got, by the way, courtesy of the Toronto Sun, just to give credit.
Okay.
And what do you think his record is as a home underdog, which, as you can imagine, doesn't happen very often.
4-1.
It's a little more than that. I mean, he's played over 20 years.
I know, but
he's 11-1 against the spread and 9-3 straight up as a home underdog.
Okay.
Of those numbers, would any of those factor into your handicapping of this game?
No, I mean those all factor into the fact that Tom Brady is a phenomenal quarterback who's had a phenomenal career.
But they don't really matter for tonight's game.
Well, a lot of them
are historical.
Tom Brady at 25-30 and 35 and even 40 was an awesome quarterback.
What do you mean? At 43, he won a Super Bowl. His first year in Tampa.
That was awesome. Did you see him interviewed this week? He looks skinny and pale, like an old man.
I guess the marriage troubles might be having an effect.
Maybe.
All right, so I'm not quite ready to bury the Bucks.
Okay. You don't have to bury the Bucks.
I'm not quite ready. But I'm kind of like Teddy on this one. I don't really feel confident backing either side. So tell me what you're not playing a side. You just got a same game parlay, but it's going to be side related.
Of course, this whole debate is about whether or not Brady's done. The Bucks also have injuries. There's like 4 starters down.
And I'll add to that. Sorry to interrupt. Teddy alluded to it. Their offensive line, which was a strength as recently as midway to 3/4 of the way through last year, until some injuries hit, and then even in the preseason, right? They lost their All-Pro center. They lost their left tackle. I mean, that really hurts, and that's been a big problem for Brady this year. Now I'll let you go ahead.
You know what's not a problem? You know who's always game? Lamar Jackson. His D doesn't hold some of the leads, but he racks up points and yards. So my same game parlay is going to focus on him, and even a solid Tom is going up against it. I'm taking over 60.5 rushing yards for Lamar Jackson.
Can I just jump in?
Mm-hmm.
That is insane.
That's the number.
For a quarterback.
I know, but he runs a lot.
Oh, no. It's accurate. It's just
I get it.
It just doesn't register even in the Michael Vick heyday.
Oh, yeah, I get it.
The number wouldn't be that. Sorry.
Over 19.5 completions for Lamar Jackson.
Ooh.
Over 1.5 passing touchdowns for Lamar Jackson. And, of course, that the Ravens score at least 21 points.
So it's a four-legger.
Four-legger.
It's definitely correlated.
Very correlated. It pays 6.5 to 1. I'm risking 0.2 units to win 1.3 units.
You're risking, sorry, point.
0.2 units to win 1.3 units.
All right. Were there any other props, NFL props or anything like that for this week?
No.
No? Okay. We've got our same game parlay. Do you have any other plays from baseball, World Series? You said no.
I have no plays in baseball. I have no plays in the
NBA, college football?
No college football, but I got an NHL pick that actually starts in 1 hour and 2 minutes from now.
Okay, what is it?
I'm riding the hot Philadelphia Flyers and 4-0 goalie Carter Hart. He's a home dog to the Florida Panthers. Both teams are starting strong. The Flyers unexpectedly, the Panthers expectedly.
Somewhat expectedly. People felt that they'd take a little bit of a step back. Not
They
quite
were
what they...
expected to
I
be
mean, they
a
had
top
an
10 team, and the
unbelievable year.
Flyers were expected to be a bottom 10 team.
Yep.
You're getting a whopping plus 175 in hockey at home.
A plus 175 home dog.
With a hot goalie? Seems like a good spot. I'm going to risk 0.7 units to win 1.23 units on the Philadelphia Flyers. You've got 1 hour, and now you got 1 hour and 1 minute to get that bet in.
So I jumped back in last week.
Yeah, didn't work out so good.
And it blowed up real good.
That's okay.
If you get that old-time SCTV reference. I'm dating myself.
Wow, you're dating yourself big time.
Big time.
I mean, Seb wasn't even born when that
and I forgot earlier, but I'm taking the prudent approach. I'm going to sit back and watch. I may text you my Sunday picks because, as I've told
Texts
you,
are valid.
I've been pretty good on Sundays.
Texts are valid.
Not so good on Thursdays.
Texts are valid.
But I didn't do the read earlier, so I'm only doing it once today. But
read it slowly and properly.
PointsBet wants you to enjoy your gambling experience, as do we. But if you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, please call the Connex Ontario helpline at 1-866-531-2600 or message PointsBet's amazing customer support, and they will definitely help you personally. I should have read it twice.
But you read it slowly and properly right before I give you the bet summary. So the timing is perfect.
So tell us all your picks for today. Floor is yours.
I entered the week down 1.53 units. I got the Flyers in hockey, ASAP plus 175, risking 0.7 units to win 1.23 units. I got a same game parlay tonight. I'm taking Lamar over 60.5 rushing yards, over 19.5 completions, and over 1.5 passing touchdowns, and the Ravens score at least 21 points. It pays 6.5 to 1. I'm 0.2 units to win 1.3 units. NFL action on Sunday, I got the Jags minus 2.5 in London versus the Broncos, risking 1.07 units to win a game, and the Broncos stink. And I'm on under 44.5 total points in Giants Seahawks. Again, risking 1.07 units to win a unit. This is a pace type game. Giants play slow. I think the Seattle Seahawks can run the ball against them and acquiesce. It's a big number for these teams. Taking the under.
We should add that Teddy gave us 2 picks, right? Teddy Greenstein from PointsBet USA. He has a Mike Evans anytime touchdown, which I believe was minus 118.
Yeah.
And he also, on Saturday, college football, he liked the Kentucky Wildcats plus 12.5 against the Tennessee Vols in the old look-ahead, right? Tennessee 2 weeks ago, the massive win over Alabama. They beat up some small program by 1 million last week. And next week, Tennessee has Georgia.
Reception wasn't great. Kentucky's a ranked team. This is a high-profile 7 p.m. ESPN game. I don't think it's a look-ahead game for Tennessee. I mean, I'm not saying Kentucky can't cover, and I like taking double-digit dogs in matchups with live teams, but I don't think it's a look-ahead thing.
Okay. Next week, we shall return. We'll see about Teddy. He seems to be an every other week kind of guy. Corey Travers, we can count on. He came in on his day off, the head trader at PointsBet Canada, so he should be back. We may or may not have the World Series to talk
Five
about
games
in a
will
week.
be, well, it's either that or we'll look at the futures for next year.
Right.
It'll be the off day between games 5 and 6.
We will be talking about week 9 in the NFL. Have to call that the midway point, and we may have to have another discussion
I
about
think it should be after
who's
week 9.
after week 9.
It's an 18.
So after
week,
next, so
next week is week 9. It should be the following
all
week.
right,
Will
so
be after
okay,
week 9.
all right. So I'm gonna have to
Hold off for World Series, etc. In the
which we'll get into a
we
little
haven't
bit
even
more.
gotten into my great NBA first half system. I'm saving to it next week.
All right. So that's all ahead a week from we have some thank yous, of course. The aforementioned Corey Travers, who is with us, Teddy Greenstein, our producer, Jordan LaRoche, Seb for hanging out.
Who's eating seafood linguine? Eating seafood linguine.
Working.
Sipping Chardonnays and lattes.
No.
The life of a millennial working for PointsBet.
But
Wow.
he's working while he's here. The laptop's open. He's listening. He's getting ready to pull the clip. World. So, yes, he's a bit of the peanut gallery, but he's also working hard, and he's part of the team. We also want to thank our great hosts here at the Bottom Line. Hey, we're here. We start every Thursday at 5:10 Eastern. You can come down. If you want to hang out, maybe we'll have a beer and some wings after, but always great atmosphere, especially on game nights, but any night's a good night at the Bottom Line. Don't forget to check us out on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Rate, review, subscribe. And don't forget to reach out to either of us or both on Twitter at Jory Middle, at Sharp Edge Picks, or email us, playon@pointsbet.ca. Follow us on Twitter. Follow PointsBet Canada account as well. Mainly controlled by Seb, so you know it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
And so on the way out, as we say each and every week, for Harley, I'm Jory. May all your picks be winners. Ours too, although I didn't make any on the show this week. And we'll talk to you next week for another edition of Play On with Jorey and Harley, powered by PointsBet. Enjoy the Thursday nighter and another week of NFL action and, of course, the World Series. And good luck for your picks, Harley.
Thanks a lot, Troy. Have a good one.
You too.